She thought her life was perfect: a loving home, a successful husband, and a daughter who was her entire world. But perfection is fragile, and sometimes it hides the darkest secrets. On an ordinary morning, Aurora Hale's daughter whispered a single word that shattered everything. Run. What followed was a nightmare no mother should ever face. A husband who wasn't just controlling but dangerous. A marriage built not on love, but on lies. Hidden millions, offshore accounts, and powerful enemies who would stop at nothing to silence her. This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's the story of a woman who was forced to choose between fear and freedom, between silence and survival. And when Aurora finally decided to fight back, she didn't just escape, she brought down an empire. Tonight, prepare yourself for a shocking journey of survival, betrayal, and revenge so powerful it will leave you questioning how well you really want. Know the person sleeping beside you? Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments. Aurora Hale had always been a fighter. At 35, she wasn't naive, nor was she weak. She was the kind of woman who could smile through storms, even when her heart was breaking inside. From the outside, her life in a quiet Boston suburb looked picture perfect. A nice home, a successful husband, and their bright-eyed 10-year-old daughter, Chloe. But inside that home lived shadows no one else could see. Her husband, Vincent Hale, was a respected investment consultant, a man admired in business circles for his charm and ambition. Neighbors saw him as the ideal family man. But Aurora knew better. Behind closed doors, Vincent was cold, calculating, and dangerously controlling. Over the years, his grip on her life had tightened so much that even breathing felt like rebellion. She had convinced herself to stay. For Chloe, for the family, for appearances. But her soul had been whispering to her for years, leave before it's too late. And then one morning, her daughter whispered it out loud. It was a Thursday when Vincent wheeled his sleek black suitcase into the living room. He announced a quick business trip to New York, promising to return Sunday evening. His voice was flat, his kiss on Chloe's forehead mechanical. He didn't even glance at Aurora. As the door clicked shut behind him, Aurora felt her chest loosen. For the first time in weeks, she could breathe without walking on eggshells. But before she could even savor the relief, Chloe tugged at her sleeve. "Mom," Chloe whispered, her little voice trembling. "When Dad leaves, you need to run." Aurora froze. Her daughter's blue eyes shimmered with urgency. Aurora knelt, brushing a strand of hair from Chloe's face. "Run? What are you talking about, sweetheart?" Chloe's tiny hands gripped her mother's arm. "I heard Dad on the phone last night. He sounded angry. He said, 'She won't stop me this time. By the time I'm back, she'll be gone.'" Aurora's blood ran cold. Gone, that single word ripped through her chest. For years, she had lived with suspicions, with fear that Vincent's anger might someday cross the final line. But to hear it through Chloe's ears, this wasn't paranoia. It was a death sentence. "Are you sure, Chloe? Did you hear him say that?" Aurora asked, trying to stay calm. Chloe nodded hard, tears welling. "He was yelling, Mom. I got scared. I think he meant you." Aurora's stomach nodded. Her instincts screamed to move, to act, to disappear before Vincent returned. For the first time, Aurora allowed herself to believe the truth. Vincent wasn't just dangerous, he was lethal. That night, Aurora barely slept. Every creak of the house made her flinch. She sat by Chloe's bedside, stroking her daughter's hair and silently swearing, "I will protect you no matter what." By morning, her decision was clear. She couldn't wait for Sunday. She had to vanish before Vincent came back, with trembling hands. She gathered cash from her hidden emergency stash, stuffed clothes into a small duffel bag, and pulled documents from Vincent's home office. Her eyes lingered on a thick folder labeled, "Hale Capital, Confidential." Something about it felt important, dangerous. She shoved it into her bag without a second. "Thought, Mom, where are we going?" Chloe asked as Aurora loaded their car. Aurora forced a steady smile. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere Dad can't find us. But as she drove away from the familiar streets of Boston, Aurora knew safety was just a dream. Vincent Hale wasn't a man who let go. 2 days later, Aurora and Chloe were holed up in a cheap motel outside Worcester. Aurora paid cash, kept her head down, and bought 2 prepaid phones at a gas station. She taught Chloe to stay quiet, to keep the curtains closed, to never answer knocks. But even in hiding, Vincent's presence haunted her. Saturday night, after Chloe drifted to sleep, Aurora sat on the motel bed with the confidential folder in her lap. Her instincts urged her to open it. Inside, she found banking documents, wire transfers, and spreadsheets filled with codes she didn't understand. But one detail was clear. Millions of dollars funneled into offshore accounts under false names. Aurora's breath hitched. Vincent wasn't just controlling. He was hiding something massive. Something criminal. A sudden knock jolted her out of her thoughts. Housekeeping. A voice called from the other side. Her heart skipped. She hadn't asked for housekeeping. Aurora pressed a finger to her lips, motioning Chloe to hide under the bed. She tiptoed to the door, pressing her ear against it. The handle jiggled, and then a low voice seeped through the wood. Aurora, you can't run from me. It was Vincent. Her blood froze. He had found them, asterisk. The sound of Vincent's voice outside the motel door sent chills through Aurora's veins. Her mind raced how had he found them so quickly. She had paid in cash, left no digital trace. Unless... Aurora's eyes flicked to the prepaid phone on the nightstand. Had she slipped? Had Vincent already been watching her long before she ran? She backed away from the door, her heart hammering. Chloe's small fingers clutched her arm from under the bed. Vincent's voice came again, low and venomous. Aurora, open this door and maybe we can talk. But if you make me come in, you'll regret it. The metal handle rattled harder this time. Aurora's breath caught. She glanced at the bathroom window, small, but maybe big enough for Chloe. If they ran now, they might have a chance. But she knew Vincent. He wasn't the kind of man to let them go. She grabbed Chloe and whispered, "Stay quiet, no matter what." Then she slipped her phone and the confidential folder into her bag. The door shook violently. Vincent wasn't waiting anymore. Aurora shoved open the bathroom window, lifting Chloe out into the cold night air. "Run to the back parking lot. Hide behind the dumpster until I come." Chloe's wide eyes glistened with fear. "But Mom, go." Aurora hissed. Chloe disappeared into the dark just as the motel door burst open. Vincent stormed in, his tailored suit wrinkled from travel, his eyes burning with fury. He looked less like a husband and more like a predator. Aurora stood firm, her fists clenched. "Where is she?" Vincent demanded. Aurora's silence was answer enough. "You think you can take my daughter and run?" He spat. "You think you can steal my life?" Aurora's fear twisted into anger. "Life? This isn't life, Vincent. This is a prison. And Chloe isn't yours to own, she's mine to protect." His lips curled into a cold smile. "Protect her from me. Aurora, I built everything you have. Without me, you're nothing." Aurora tightened her grip on the bag. "Funny, I was just looking at your files. Offshore accounts. Fake identities. Millions you never told me about." For the first time, Vincent faltered. His eyes darkened. "You went through my things," he said, his voice low and dangerous. Aurora took a step back, her courage growing. "You're not just abusive. You're a criminal. And now I know everything." Vincent lunged forward, but Aurora ducked, grabbing the lamp from the nightstand and smashing it across his shoulder. He staggered, cursing. She bolted through the bathroom window, landing hard on the gravel outside. Chloe was waiting, trembling but safe. Aurora grabbed her hand. "Kay," and together they sprinted into the night. They didn't stop running until they reached a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of town. Aurora used a payphone to call the only person she trusted, her old college friend, Detective Julia Ramirez, now a police investigator in Boston. Within an hour, Julia arrived, pulling Aurora and Chloe into her unmarked car. Aurora, what the hell is going on? Julia asked as she sped away. Aurora thrust the confidential folder into her hands. Vincent's been hiding millions. Offshore accounts, fake companies, and he threatened me. Julia, I think he was planning to kill me. Julia flipped through the documents, her eyes widening. Aurora, this isn't just fraud. These accounts are tied to money laundering. And some of these names, she paused. These are organized crime fronts. Aurora's blood chilled. Vincent wasn't just greedy. He was connected to something far bigger, far darker. Over the next 48 hours, Julia hid Aurora and Chloe in a safe house while the authorities began digging into Vincent's financial empire. But Vincent was always one step ahead. On the third night, Aurora woke to the sound of shattering glass. Masked men stormed into the safe house, guns drawn. They weren't cops. They were Vincent's men. Aurora grabbed Chloe and ran for the back door, bullets splintering the walls behind them. Julia fired back, shouting, "Go! I'll hold them off." Aurora's legs burned as she sprinted into the freezing night, clutching Chloe to her chest. She didn't stop until they reached the main road, where a truck screeched to a halt inches from them. The driver jumped out a burly stranger with a Boston accent. "Get in if you want to live." Aurora hesitated, but headlights glowed behind them. Vincent's men were closing in. She shoved Chloe into the truck and climbed in. The driver gunned the engine, swerving onto the highway. "Name's Tom," he said. "I owed Julia a favor. You're safe now." Aurora wasn't sure she believed him, but for the moment, it was enough. By dawn, the news exploded. Vincent held a respected financial consultant under investigation for money laundering and organized crime ties. Aurora sat in Tom's safe house, watching the broadcast with shaking hands. Vincent's polished face filled the screen, but now the world saw what he truly was. The FBI had raided his office. Warrants were issued. His empire was crumbling, but Aurora knew it wasn't over. Vincent wouldn't go down quietly, and she was right. 2 nights later, Aurora returned to their Boston home under FBI protection. Chloe clung to her as agents swept the house, but when Aurora walked into the living room, a chilling sight awaited her. Vincent was already there, sitting calmly in the armchair, a gun resting on his knee. The agents outside were gone, bought off, distracted. Aurora didn't know. All she knew was that it was finally just the two of them. Vincent's eyes locked on hers, cold and unyielding. "You destroyed everything, Aurora. My career, my reputation, my life." Aurora's voice trembled, but her words were steady. "You destroyed it yourself. I just exposed you." Vincent stood, raising the gun. "If I can't have this family, no one will." Time slowed. Chloe screamed. But before Vincent could fire, Julia burst through the door, her own gun drawn. "Drop it, Vincent." For the first time, Aurora saw fear flash across his face. He hesitated. Aurora stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "You'll never control us again." She grabbed a vase from the mantel and hurled it at Vincent's head. The gun clattered to the floor. Julia tackled him, pinning him down as backup agents stormed in. Vincent Hale was dragged away in handcuffs, his empire reduced to ash. Weeks later, Aurora and Chloe stood outside the courthouse. The trial had begun, and Vincent faced decades in prison. But for Aurora, justice wasn't just in the sentence, it was in her freedom. She leaned down, kissing Chloe's forehead. "We're safe now, baby. Truly safe." Chloe smiled faintly, her eyes brighter than they had been in years. "I told you to run, Mom." Aurora hugged her daughter tightly. "And I'll never stop running toward our future." As they walked away from the courthouse, Aurora didn't feel broken anymore. She felt powerful, because sometimes revenge isn't about blood, it's about survival. And Aurora Hale had survived. On the third night, Aurora woke to the sound of shattering glass. Masked men stormed into the safe house, guns drawn. They weren't cops. They were Vincent's men. Aurora grabbed Chloe and ran for the back door, bullets splintering the walls behind them. Julia fired back, shouting, "Go. I'll hold them off." Asterisk, if you liked my story, Please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with as many people as possible. Thanks for watching.